guys, it's Mel. Welcome to my channel. Alright, so today I thought that I would go through a few books that I'm really excited to read in the next coming couple of months. So, as we all know, things are kind of crazy out there. I know a lot of places around the world are currently in lockdown or some kind of isolation or quarantine. Here in Australia, and specifically in Tassie where I live, we're not quite in full lockdown yet. The schools are still open for the next week, so I will still be teaching for the next week. But after that, we'll be having a week where we're trying to put together online resources for term 2, and then it'll be online learning. I teach 2 days a week as an art teacher, so I'll be looking at doing art online for my school and possibly for other schools around the state. I'm not quite sure how that's going to look, but I won't have as much opportunity to do relief teaching in term 2 because we'll all be doing it online. So that will give me a lot more time to do a lot more reading. You will have seen my haul that I showed you on Saturday. I thought that I'd go through a few of the books that I'm super excited to read, both from that haul and from previous hauls that I've shown you in the past, and talk about, the books that I think that I'd like to read during quarantine. Got to say a couple of things before I show you those books though. The first one is that I'm planning on going in the Eurovision readathon, which is being hosted by Helen Slater over on Twitter. So I will be making a Eurovision TBR in the next couple of weeks and showing that to you. That is a month-long readathon that goes from the middle of April to the middle of May. So yeah, I'll show you that TBR in a week or so. I am also currently reading Skyward by Brandon Sanderson with Hayley from Hayley Reads. So I'll be continuing to read that over the next few weeks, and judging from previous buddy reading I've done with her, we'll probably pick up Starsight, which is the next one in that duology. So I'm excited to read that. I also have tentative plans with my friends that I've been reading The Power with to read some more books. Although my friend Max is currently doing what most of us are doing and working from home, while her partner is working from home, while her kids are at home. So we may not get to do much buddy reading. We will see how we go. But I did finish The Power the other day, so I'll discuss that in more detail in my wrap-up. But looking forward to starting a new book with them possibly as well. And I do also have another buddy read planned with another friend of mine, Alison, and we will be reading The Starless Sea. So I feel like I probably don't need to give you any kind of explanation about The Starless Sea anymore. It's pretty popular these days. It sounds amazing. It sounds right up my alley. So I'm really excited to read this one. And I'm excited to read with my friend Alison. We haven't seen as much of each other in the past few years because she lives in Sydney and I live in Tasmania. But we have pretty similar tastes in books, and I thought that this would be a really nice way to reconnect with her. So thanks, Al. I'm excited. And my other buddy read pal, Connor from Connor Booktube, we did have tentative plans to do a buddy read, although we haven't yet decided what, so that will be coming up as well, and I will let you know once we've figured that out. Anyway, there's quite a few here. So I did actually start this one the other day. I only read 28 pages, but it's quite interesting so far, and that is Good Muslim Boy. This was in a haul that I did last year. It was one that I just picked up off a discount table as I walked past a local bookstore. So yeah, it seems really interesting, and it's kind of swapping backwards and forwards between present day and the past for this particular character, whose name is Osama Sami. I believe that it is a memoir. So I'm excited to read this and actually get into it a bit more because, like I said, I've only read the first couple of chapters, but I'm enjoying it so far. The next 2 books that I'm most excited for and will probably get to relatively quickly is The Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. So this is another book that I'm sure that you're all very aware of what it's about, but I'll just read the blurb to you just in case. Alex Stern is the most unlikely member of Yale's freshman class. a dropout and the sole survivor of a horrific unsolved crime, the last thing she wants is to cause trouble. Not when Yale was supposed to be her fresh start, but a free ride to one of the world's most prodigious universities was bound to come with a catch. Alex has been tasked with monitoring the mysterious activities of Yale's secret societies. Societies that have yielded some of the most famous and influential people in the world. Now there's a dead girl on campus, and Alex seems to be the only person who won't accept the neat answer the police and campus administration have come up with for her murder. Because Alex knows the secret societies are far more sinister and extraordinary than anyone ever imagined. They tamper with forbidden magic, they raise the dead, and sometimes they prey on the living. So that just sounds really cool and really interesting, and I've heard a lot of great things about this book and about Leigh Bardugo as an author in general, so I'm super excited to read this one. The next book that I'm super excited to read is The Nowhere Child by Christian White. If you watched my haul video, you would have seen this one as well as The Ninth House. My friend Catherine gave this to me. It's not a book I'd ever heard of before, but it sounds really, really interesting, and I'm really excited to read it. And will actually fit in quite well for my Eurovision readathon, so I might put that on that TBR. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but yeah, I'm really excited to read that one. So those two are probably the ones I'm most excited about, aside from The Starless Sea, which I'm definitely going to be reading with Alison, and Starsight, which I would imagine I'm going to read with Hayley, and The Good Muslim Boy, which I did start the other day for myself. So the next three books that I'm going to show you are the next three books in the Mary Russell series by Laurie R. King, which I have talked about on several different videos in this channel. I just realised looking at the books that I possibly have one missing, so I may have to go online and purchase that. But anyway, the books that I currently have from that series that I haven't yet read are Dreaming Spies, The Murder of Mary Russell, and Island of the Mad. So I think that actually in between The Murder of Mary Russell and Island of the Mad is another book called Mary Russell's War. So I'll have to try and get that one. Don't know how I missed that, but anyway, these are the books in the continuation of the Mary Russell series. And if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you've probably heard me talk about these books before. This is one of my favourite series ever. Laurie R. King is an absolutely amazing author. Mary Russell is one of my favourite characters in literature. She's so incredibly intelligent and so well written and such a strong, feisty female character. And yeah, I just really, really love these books. As these are later in the series, I don't want to go into too much detail about the series, but I will just say that Mary Russell is two things. She is the detective partner of the retired Sherlock Holmes, and she is also a theologian at Oxford University. So she kind of has two very different worlds that she lives in, but she's incredibly intelligent and amazing at both and devoted to both. And the books are always about mysteries that her and Sherlock Holmes are involved in, so I really, really enjoy them. So that's Dreaming Spies, The Murder of Mary Russell, and Island of the Mad by Laurie R. King. Speaking of detective mystery books that I'm super excited to read during this time as well, we have Moon Over Soho, which is the next book in the Rivers of London series by Ben Aronovich. So I read the first book, Rivers of London, a few months ago and thought it was amazing. Really, really enjoyed it. And as you would have seen in my recent haul, I got this one from Book Depository, and I'm really excited to read it. So it is about our protagonist, Peter Grant, who is a cop in the Met in London, and he's just a general sort of beat cop, and then one night he's interviewing suspects, and it turns out that he is interviewing a ghost. And that leads him down the path of finding out that there is a lot of supernatural elements to the world and in London. and he becomes part of this section of the police force that he didn't know existed until this happened, where they deal with magic and the supernatural. So this is the next book in that series, so I'm really excited to read this one too. Next book is another book in a series that I have read recently. So you would have seen that I was told to read by my partner in the We Choose Each Other's TBR challenge that we did at the beginning of this month, that I was to read The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, and I did, and it took a little while to get into it. I won't go into too much detail because I'll save that for the wrap up, but I am keen now to read Before They Are Hanged, which is the next book in that series. So I won't go into too much detail about these books, particularly this one, as it is the second book. As far as I'm aware, it's a trilogy. I don't know that we actually have the third one, so I may have to go again and purchase that one. But yeah, that's another book that I'm super excited to read and continue a series for. Then we have a fantasy book, Angel Mage by Garth Nix. I have read 2 series of Garth Nix's before, so I've read the Abortion trilogy, which now is actually a quartet, and I have read the, I'm not sure what the series is called, but the books are, I'm not even sure what all the books are called, but it's basically a child's middle grade fantasy series, and this is an adult fantasy series, so I've not read any Garth Nix adult fantasy. I'm really excited to read this one. It sounds really cool and really interesting. The blurb says, "The icon maker and angel summoner, Lilith, long believed dead, has awoken from her century-long sleep to pick up the threads of a plan that has already destroyed one kingdom and may yet destroy another. To succeed, Lilith must bring together Agnes, the musketeer, Simeon, the doctor, Dorothea, the mage, and Henry, one of the cardinal's clerks, and take them into utmost danger." Set in alternative 17th century, where angels can be summoned and controlled by those with a talent for magic, Angel Mage is an action-packed story of angels, heroes, gunpowder, and high magic. So I've heard some mixed things about this book, but I really enjoy Garth Nix's writing, so I'm anticipating really enjoying this one. So I'm really hopeful that that ends up being the case. The next book that I'm looking forward to reading is The Confession by Jessie Burton. So you probably remember that this was in a haul from last year sometime, and I haven't quite got around to it, but it has been sitting on my shelf and calling out to me because it does sound really, really great and really interesting, so I'm excited to have the time to get to it now as well. Again, I'll read the blurb to you. One winter's afternoon on Hampstead Heath in 1980, Elise Mokow meets Constance Holden and quickly falls under her spell. Connie is bold and alluring, a successful writer whose novel is being turned into a major Hollywood film. Elise follows Connie to LA, a city of strange dreams and swimming pools and late-night gatherings of glamorous people. But whilst Connie thrives on the heat and electricity of this new world, where everyone is reaching for the stars and no one is telling the truth, Elise finds herself floundering. When she overhears a conversation at a party that turns everything on its head, Elise makes an impulsive decision that will change her life forever. 3 decades later, Rose Simmons is seeking answers about her mother, who disappeared when she was a baby. Having learned that the last person to see her was Constance Holden, a reclusive novelist who withdrew from public life at the peak of her fame, Rose is drawn to the door of Connie's imposing house in search of a confession. Yeah, it sounds really cool and really interesting, and another one that I'm really interested to read. Next up, we have 2 books actually that I should have included in my haul but completely forgot to, and they were books that I got when I went to a silent reading party with my friend Michelle, and the people running that had put together a bunch of different books where they had wrapped them up in brown paper and then written a bit of a description, and you could pay, I think it was $2 per book, and then you could decide which one you wanted based on the description, and we had really fun kind of just trying to guess which one was what, and yeah, so I got 2 books out of that for $4, and they both sound really cool and really interesting. So the first one is Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides. So it's actually by the same person that wrote The Virgin Suicides, which is not a book I've read before, but it is a movie that I've seen that I really enjoyed. So it says on the back, I was born twice. First as a baby girl on a remarkably smogless Detroit day in January of 1960, and then again as a teenage boy in an emergency room near Petoskey, Michigan in August of 1974. So begins the breathtaking story of Calliope Stephanides and 3 generations of the Greek-American Stephanides family, who travelled from a tiny village overlooking Mount Olympus in Asia Minor to Prohibition-era Detroit, witnessing its glory days as the Motor City and the race riots of 1967, before they move out to the green line streets of suburban Grosse Pointe, Michigan. To understand why Calliope is not like other girls, she has to uncover a guilty family secret and the astonishing genetic history that turns her into Cal, one of the most audacious and wondrous narrators in contemporary fiction. Lyrical and thrilling, Middlesex is an exhilarating reinvention of the American epic. So yeah, that just sounds really intriguing and interesting. It is the winner of the 2003 Pulitzer Prize for Fiction, so I'm really keen to read that one as well. And then we have this one, which is No Friend But the Mountain by Behrouz Boochani. Sorry, I apologise, I've probably completely butchered the name there. So this is a book that is probably going to be incredibly harrowing and difficult to read, but I'm super interested in reading it nonetheless. In 2013, Kurdish journalist Behrouz Boochani sought asylum in Australia, but was instead illegally imprisoned in the country's most notorious detention centre on Manus Island. He has been there ever since. This book is the result. Behrouz Boochani spent nearly 5 years typing passages of this book one text at a time from a secret mobile phone in prison. Compiled and translated from Farsi, they form an incredible story of how, in escaping political persecution in Iran, he ended up trapped as a stateless person. This vivid, gripping portrait of his years of incarceration and exile shines devastating light on the fates of so many refugees as borders close around the world. No Friend But the Mountains is both a brave active witness and a moving testament to the humanity of all people in the most extreme of circumstances. So yeah, like I said, I think this is going to be absolutely heart-wrenching and probably make me incredibly angry. I've been incredibly angry about the way that Australia treats asylum seekers for, it feels like 20 years now. Yeah, so I know that this is going to make me probably quite angry and upset, but I'm also really interested to read it, so I will let you know how I go with it. Moving into something a little bit lighter is Identity Crisis by Ben Elton. So this is another one that I hauled last year sometime that I have not yet read. So again, I will read the blurb to you. Why are we all so hostile, so quick to take offence? Truly, we are living in the age of outrage. A series of apparently random murders draws amiable, old-school detective Mick Matlock into a world of sex, politics and reality TV, and a bewildering kaleidoscope of opposing identity groups. Lost in a blizzard of hashtags, his already complex investigation is further impeded by the fact that he simply doesn't get a single thing about anything anymore. Meanwhile, each day another public figure confesses to having misspoken and prostrates themselves before the judgment of Twitter, begging for forgiveness, assuring the public this is not who I am. But if nobody is who they are anymore, then who the fuck are we? So I think that sounds like it'll be really fun and really engaging, as I have found most of Ben Elton's books, so I'm really excited to read that one. And the final 3 books that I want to show you are 3 middle grade books that I'm excited to read. One's historical fiction and the other 2 are magical realism or fantasy. So the historical fiction is Just a Girl by Jackie French, and this is about a young girl called Judith in Judea in 71 I should say AD. It's a historical story about a young girl during that period, and it just sounds really cool, really interesting. Next up we have Perfectly Preventable Deaths by Deirdre Sullivan. So this is about a young girl who finds out that she has some sort of magical powers, and that sounds really cool to me as well. And then we have Esme's Gift, which is the second book in the Esme Aeolia series, which I did a review on. Esme's Wish, which is the first one a while ago, so I'm keen to read Esme's Gift by Elizabeth Foster and find out what happens with Esme and what's going on with her mother and everything like that. Alright guys, so those are all the books that I physically own that I have not read, that I am super excited to read over the next period of weeks or months that we are in this situation where we are isolating. I also do have my e-reader, so I am keen to use that as well. And I do also have plans for my yearly goals to read a book written by an Australian Aboriginal, one every month, and read a book either own voices or just containing characters who are LGBTQIA representative. So yeah, my e-reader is probably going to be the way that I then find those books and read also. But yeah, I'm actually not going to put together a really structured TBR for the next few months, so these are just all the books that I want to read, and then I will search for the other two categories that I just mentioned on my e-reader. But I'm going to do more of mood reading because, as I'm sure everyone is feeling, it's quite a stressful, weird time at the moment, and I just don't think that I want to be that structured. I want to just kind of read what I feel at the time. So yeah, those are all the books. If you have read any of these books, please comment below and let me know what you thought of them. If you are keen to read any of these books, please comment below and let me know that as well. I have put my Twitter handle in the description below as well, so if you are feeling the need to talk about anything during this time, or just, you know, in general, please do find me on Twitter and I'm happy to help out however I can. I really hope that everyone is happy, healthy and safe, and thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time.